maybe two Parashot, Parashat Tetzave and Tisa, because we're a little bit behind.
Okay. How many were behind?
One. Yeah, that was last week, yeah. Alright, in Parashat Tetzave, you find instructions for the Bigdei HaKehuna, priestly garments. There is also instructions for construction of the Mishkan, the Oel Moed. And all of this, of course, does not take place until after Parashat Tisa, after the Maaseh Egel, which occurs in Parashat Tisa. The rabbis tell us a very important rule that we come across from time to time, and it's important to remember what it is. And the rule is En Mukdam U'Meuchar B'Torah.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
En Mukdam U'Meuchar B'Torah. Don't expect when you're learning. When you're learning the Torah, when you're reading it, remember this rule. En Mukdam U'Meuchar. Don't expect to find an order of sequence of the events. Just because Parashat Tetzave is before Tisa doesn't mean whatever is there happened before. En mukdam u'meuchar. There's no order. Some things can be written and mentioned in one chapter, and they occurred much later, but they were mentioned earlier on.
Yeah.
There's a reason why HaKadosh Baruch Hu put that in that particular order, but that order does not indicate the timing. On the contrary, we have a tradition, sheyesh smichut, from pasuk to pasuk. There is a connection, and the reason why one pasuk follows another pasuk. That there is, but only Hashem knows why. Yes, but in Seder, in the Suyam, of course there's a cheshbon, but we should not expect it that it should follow the time sequence.
Also in the prayer?
No, it's about in the Torah.
Yeah, but in the prayer, I'm driving, I'm going to be in shul late, so I started praying with the parts I know.
Yeah, of course, that's fine.
You can do that.
Yeah, you can do certain things that, of course,
ahead of time.
You want to do certain things in the minyan, but you can do ahead of time, especially if you're going to be coming late ahead of time at home. So therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us the mitzvot, and He now prepares us with the procedures of how to go about repairing avonot. What is an avon? An avon is not following the instructions properly, not doing the mitzvot correctly, right? Whether it was done accidentally or whether it was done intentionally, whether it's called a het or an avon. Regardless, it needs to be repaired. It needs to be corrected. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu provides the tools on how to correct an avon. Somebody sins against Hashem, how does he repair it? He should not despair, he should not give up hope. And that is of course called teshuvah. But in Parashat Tetzave, you will find that not only is there teshuvah, there was also bigdei kehuna in a mishkan. The construction of which we spoke a little bit about before had a lot to do with the whole avodah, the whole service of Hashem, which involves a lot with teshuvah.
For Israel or for Israel only?
No, for all of Am Yisrael, which I'll talk about later, what the Kohanim's job was. So the building of the Mishkan, which was to bring down the Shekinah here, involved a tremendous amount of avodah, and part of the avodah was the tikkun, the korbanot, the sacrifices that the Kohanim would bring for Am Yisrael on a regular basis, whether it was for forgiveness or for asking rachamim. There is all sorts of korbanot. There's something called korban todah, a sacrifice of thanksgiving, right? A woman would bring that, for example, after she gave birth. So the whole avodah, the whole service, the building of the Mishkan, and including the begadim, the unique clothes that the Kohanim would wear, that would have to do with the process called tikkun avon, fixing the avonot. Hashem is giving us all of that before the Maaseh Egel. Right? Before the Maaseh Egel. In other words, as you may have remembered, there's another famous phrase or saying, Shakadosh Baruch Hu makdim refuah lemakah. He prepares the remedy, the cure, before the disease.
Ready for the baby.
Right, before the disease, before the problem occurs. So in this case too, HaKadosh Baruch Hu prepares already the form or the way, the means of how to go about correcting the avonot before Parashat Tisa, before the Egel comes about. We already know what needs to be done. The Mishkan B'ezrat Hashem will be a way of how I will come back into you, how I will reside amongst you, despite what will happen later. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about the Bigdei Kehuna. Each Beged, and the Kohen Gadol, by the way, had 8. The Kohen Hedyot. Hedyot meaning the simple Kohen, not the Kohen Gadol. There was only one Kohen Gadol. Right, there was one Kohen Gadol who was the main leader.
How many he had?
One at a time.
How many races he had, the Kohen Gadol?
He had 8.
The Kohen Gadol.
Kohen Gadol had 8. Right? And the Kohen Hedyot had only 4.
Oh.
So, and they had to wear the clothes during the time of the avodah. You could not perform the avodah without the clothes. So I'm going to just tell you briefly what each garment represents. It was significant because they didn't have to be overdressed. Nevertheless, it appears, if you read 8 garments, it appears to be overdressing. No, not exactly one. You had a hat.
Okay.
I'll go through each one. For example, you had the ketonet. The ketonet was a type of shirt. A shirt, I understand. Everybody needs some sort of shirt, right? What does that represent? So they tell us that is mechaper on shvichut damim, on murder. יכול להיות, יפה מאוד. He says because perhaps it has something to do with ketonet apasim. He says maybe. There's a lot of explanations, and we don't have the time to analyze each. Yeah, but that is what's brought down. The ketonet was symbolic in the fact that it was mechaper, it atoned for any shvichut damim that occurred amongst the Jewish people. Of course, the murderer himself would need a kapara, but this causes a kitrug on the Jewish nation. It causes problems, especially if there's lots of it. That ketonet that the Kohen would wear somehow, would be mechaper and would call out for mechila from HaKadosh Baruch Hu for that particular upon. Nichnasayim,
linen,
yeah, nichnasayim, different material. They all had different material.
Oh yeah.
They had gold embraided in it. It was very fancy.
Yeah.
Very special. Yeah. If you have a chance and you don't understand the Hebrew, get an English translation. You will see how beautiful.
Yeah, I read Rashi, but I couldn't understand.
There are also pictures that describe what they looked like. They were beautiful clothes. The Nichnasayim was al gilui arayot. That one makes more sense, right? The pants for adulterous act, for immoral acts. That was the Nichnasayim. The way it was made was lechaper al gilui arayot. Mitznefet.
They were long like
Similar pants, but of course not exactly the same way.
Yeah, okay.
But they didn't have pockets and so forth.
Yeah, okay.
But they basically were considered pants. That's what they looked like. Mitznefet, that is the hat. Special hat that the Kohen Gadol had, which would look different than the hat of the Kohen Idiot. That was a kapara for gasut haruach. Gasut haruach is another word for gava, for arrogance, the head.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
The avnet, the hagura belt, a type of belt, was for hirhurei alev, for bad thoughts. Even though a bad thought in itself is not considered an avon, there was a korban olah, a sacrifice called olah that used to be brought even for hirhurim. The reason why hirhurim were serious, nevertheless, even though there's no avon by itself, you didn't carry it out. Hirhur is just the thought of doing something bad, is because that is dangerous. That is what leads a person to commit something. He first thinks about it.
Oh, that's why
He desires
the
it.
Kohen Gadol, when they go to Kodesh HaKodeshim, he cannot even to their hair.
Yeah, you have to be careful not to have the wrong thoughts.
Not he will die.
You have to have the right thoughts. So this is for kapara on hirhur halev, for the bad thoughts that people may have had, that avnet would help. Hoshen was the breastplate that the Kohen Gadol wore. Keneged kilkul hadin, any lack of justice that was done, corrupt justice that was done by the bedin, by the Sanhedrin. Kilkul hadin, in other words, that the justice did not come out, was not meted out properly. The ephod, which was a type of a, how do you say it in English? Apron. Very good. How did you know?
I don't know, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
How many?
Yeah. Like an apron, which by the way, the hoshen was on top of it. That
Hoshen
was
is the hat again, right?
the breastplate.
The breastplate, okay.
It's never the hat. Ephod was to be the chaper on avodah zarah, idol worshiping. And me'il, it wasn't exactly a coat the way we think of it, a coat, but it's a kind of it came down.
Or the tunic.
Something like that, maybe.
All over. So it's in the book.
Yeah. That was keneged lashon hara. It had bells.
It has
right?
Pomegranate.
It was made in a very specific way, and each detail, of course, was important. That was keneged lashon hara, to atone for the terrible avon of gossiping, slandering, bad-mouthing. That's what lashon hara is all about. And finally, you had the 8th one, that's the tzitz. That was on the forehead.
Or the band.
Like a band,
Yeah.
right? And from gold. That was connected to azut metzach. Azut metzach is another word for chutzpah. And when you say ashamnu, and especially in Yom Kippurim, when you had the various types, more detailed, more specific types of avonot, you say, you specify these two. Azut HaNetzach, Gasut HaRuach, all the various bad midot, the bad character, bad traits, bad behavior that one may have had during the year. So these begadim are to atone for these various sins.
He covered everything.
Yeah.
All the sins.
Yeah. Together with, of course, with his prayer, together with the other avodah, with the other services in the Mishkan and later on in the Bet HaMikdash, these would help be a constant reminder. You may have seen, just to give you a better idea of how this works, you may have seen a similar tradition. The Goyim took a lot of things from the Jews, for sure. And sometimes we don't even realize it because we're totally unaware of certain things that exist during the time of the Bet HaMikdash. Today they don't exist, but the Goyim still retain it. If you go to Tibet, you will see that they have an amulet that they put in something that they
turn.
They turn.
Yeah, you turn this way,
or this way.
Yeah,
right.
They push it, they turn it to.
So the prayer or the amulet, the words that are in there, should be repeated many, many times. Instead of saying it, whatever is in there, every time they do this, it's like it's being said 10 times, 100 times. You follow me?
Yeah.
Right? So that whatever they put in there is a form of prayer or amulet, which they use to continuously say it. Right? Similarly, the Havdil, but it's an idea that they may have taken from us, that at certain times we had certain items that were there as constant reminders to Hashem. Attachment. Right? That He should continuously remember us. He should continuously atone for the Ma'asim. So the Kohen Gadol would be wearing this at all times.
All time.
At all times, during the day, sure. He would be wearing, right, the begadim, so that it would be a constant reminder.
I thought only when he went inside, no?
No, during the Avodah. Of course, when he was home, he didn't wear it.
No, I understand.
Well, when he was doing the Avodah, when he was engaged in the Avodah, he would wear it all the time. So this was a constant atonement for Am Yisrael, a constant reminder. Sanegoria, a defense for the Jewish people. All right. The Torah, in describing the begadim, it calls them Bigdei Kodesh. You will find that they are called Bigdei Kodesh. These clothing are holy. What does it mean they're holy? Not that they necessarily have holiness, but as it says later on, Lechavod u'letiferet. What's the purpose of them? The Torah is describing why are there's so much detail in these clothes. Why do they have to be beautiful? It's Kodesh, meaning that it's for a holy purpose. Not that they are holy in themselves, clothing, but that they are for a holy purpose. Don't think that that's ordinary clothes. They are intended for a holy purpose. That is what Kodesh means. And Lechavod, why is it called, why are these clothing for Kavod? What Kavod? Not for the Kavod of the individual himself, Kavod of the place and of the work that is being done. In other words, we are giving Kavod to this service. This is not an ordinary job what the Kohen is doing. He's doing something very, very prominent, very, very special, and we, by dressing him up in a very beautiful, special way, we're giving kavod to the place where he is and to the job that he's performing. What's the tiferet? Tiferet is already to the individual himself. Not that he is special, but to remind him, right, that he is responsible for this very important job. In other words, the tiferet, he has to be careful with what he does. So these begadim are to impress upon him the importance of the job itself. And of course for Am Yisrael to give him kavod too. This is important, as we will see later on, I think in Parashat Tisa, that the Torah has many mitzvot to instill morah, respect and reverence for the avodah, for the kohanim, for the service, for the Bet HaMikdash. You can't just walk in there when you're drunk, when you're unclean. Many mitzvot, right, that you have to be careful to instill in a Jew the morah, the reverence, the kavod, the respect for the place, that he shouldn't minimize it. There's even a halakha, for example, you can't make a Bet HaKnesset, you can't use it as a shortcut. Let's say you're in the alley and you want to go to Beverly Boulevard. You can't walk through the Bet HaKnesset to go to Beverly Boulevard just because you wouldn't want to go around. That's not kavod. You're using the Bet HaKnesset for a shortcut? But what if you, nevertheless, this is the easiest way, then come in, sit down, and say pasuk, and then get up and continue. You following? So there's a certain idea expressed over here in Digdei Kodesh to remind the Kohen, to remind the Jewish people that this is a special place, this is an important avodah, what he's doing. Don't minimize it. Give him the right kavod. Alright, what is the whole idea of having a shevet, a tribe? One tribe, Shevet Levi, to do the service in the Bet HaMikdash. During those days, the majority of the Jewish people were an agricultural society. There was no industry. Right? People were in the fields. People worked hard. To be a farmer is not an easy job. Right? Work early from the morning till late at night. Even though they had the year of Shemitah was a year of rest, but the rest of the time it was hard work. If people would work so hard and be occupied all the time, who would learn Torah? Who will do all the spiritual work? And we have a lot of spiritual work. There's a need for people to take care of the korbanot, atonement. Even today, we have no Bet HaMikdash, we still need people who are Bal Koreh, read the Torah. That takes preparation. Hazanim. We need Hazanim, have a nice voice, have the right kavanot. We need a Mohel, we need a Sofer. If we would not have Sofer, who would write Sifrei Torah? Who would write Mezuzot? Right? Baruch Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu plants into every individual what he needs to accomplish in this world, in this lifetime. Just look, I mentioned it last week, I was in Agora Hills, talking about how the human being is so unique and special, and is different than the rest of the animals in a very important way. Look at lions, tigers, and fox, and wolves, and sheep. They all look alike. Did you ever see a tiger, a carpenter, a tiger, a plumber, a tiger, a teacher? No, they're all the same. They eat, sleep, eat, right? That's it. Human beings are very different. Not only do they look different in their facial features, they all have different ideas of what they want to do. Just go into a 12th grade class in high school and ask the boys, what do you want to be? This guy will say, I want to be a lawyer. This guy, a doctor. Will you ever go into a class and everybody wants to be the same thing? No. No way in the world. Baruch Hashem, in great wisdom, set up the world that there is harmony. There's a balance. Except today in Israel, perhaps, because of the immigration from Russia, we have too many engineers and too many doctors. maybe. Good. But it's still good. Unfortunately, today we need the doctors in Israel, unfortunately. But anyway, there's harmony. There's a unique role for every human being. HaKadosh Baruch Hu needed one tribe to be dedicated to spiritual work. To the Avodah. Everybody's so busy with their jobs. We need rabbis. We need teachers. We need Kohanim. Kohanim Gedolim, which are originally, by the way, that job was supposed to be performed by the Bechorim, by the Bechorot, by the firstborn, which eventually will be restored to them when Mashiach comes. But because of the Haita Regel, Bechor היה צריך לשרת בקודש. That was the job. The firstborn. No, Bechor again. Kol Bechor. Every firstborn is a special boy. If the first boy is a male, he's special.
So they replaced the Kohen to be no
He was supposed to be. No, originally that was their job.
No, but when Mashiach comes, the
Kohanim will continue. There will be enough jobs there. Everybody will have something to do. Everybody will have something to do. When Mashiach comes over, the Bechor will go back to the Kedusha that he still has, but then he will be able to apply it in the service of the Bet HaMikdash. So anyway, HaKadosh Baruch Hu needed a tribe, a shevet that will be dedicated full time, that will not have the Ola Parnasah, which every one of us has, the burden of supporting his family, and therefore can concentrate in supporting the Jewish people. How do they take care of them? We support them. We give them the Maaseh, we give them Terumah, we give them Matnot Kehuna, the priestly gifts, the 24 priestly gifts that the Kohanim would get, so they would be taken care of, they would be fed. They wouldn't have any worries of Parnasah. Right? And they would be able to be totally immersed in the Avodah of Hashem, in helping Am Yisrael achieve Mehila and Kapara. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu therefore chose Shevet Levi of all the Shevatim to take care of this spiritual job. Alright, next idea in Parashat Tetzave is the oil. The oil, we're being told, is a very special oil. Oil to be used for the menorah has to be shemen zayit zach katit lamaor. It has to be pure olive oil, and it also has to be katit. It cannot be ground, it has to be squeezed. It's a process of squeezing by weight that they would put on top of the olives. But in getting olive oil, there's various stages. There's the first oil that is squeezed. It comes out easily.
Extra virgin.
Right? And then there's that you have to press harder
We're showing to.
right? This, for the menorah, you had to have the best, highest quality, highest grade of oil, and it was the first press, not the second or third press.
First cut.
The first cut, like, huh?
Neat. First cut.
It had to be the first press. Why? Well, first of all, let's analyze what's the purpose of oil. What does oil represent? Oil is interesting. Oil floats on top of water. No matter how much you try to mix them, you won't be able to mix it. And that's representative of Am Yisrael, of the Jewish nation, that we are on top of everybody else. We cannot mix with them. We have to be on top. We're not allowed to mix. Zach also can be interpreted as being clean and pure from any foreign thoughts and ideas. We cannot assimilate the ways of the Goyim. We have our own system, our own hashkafot, our own ideas, our own philosophies, our own mitzvot. We do not need to adopt any ideas from other cultures. On the contrary, if we do adopt, it messes things up. It has to be pure, clean. Right? When one reads books that have ideas that are not acceptable to the Torah, he's bound to be influenced by them. A human being, aside from the genes that he has from his family, aside from the astrological influences on the time of birth that he has that influence his character and nature, aside from all of that, one is influenced by his friends, his teachers, and the books that one reads. So, and therefore, if one reads bad books about communism, he might be eventually decide, oh, I like this. Why do you think Jews are the communists? They are the ones who invented communism. They must have picked it up somewhere. They came up with these ideas, not from the Torah. Reading is very, very dangerous. There was once an individual whose parnasa was to sell books. I don't know if it was used books, new books, and every time he would come to town, he would put his wares, his merchandise, in the Bet HaKnesset. So after the tefillah, people would go over and see what book, 50 cents a piece, whatever, and they would buy. And he had bad books too. Bad books, books about all the theories that preach, I don't know, you don't want to say the names, that preach heresy, firut, okay? And the rabbi approached him after the prayer, and he takes a look at the books, and he says, Martha, this is terrible, you're selling this to Jews? He says, he didn't ask him, he took the entire box and threw it into what do you call the fireplace. Rabbi, you just threw my entire parnasah. This is what I make a living of. He says, this is terrible. Make a living from this. But what can I do? I have no other choice. He says, you know what? I have a new job for you. Don't worry. I'll take care of you. Tomorrow morning, after Shacharit, come with me. I'll get you a job. Don't worry about it. Okay. Next morning, after Shacharit, the rabbi walks with him. They start going away from the Bet HaKnesset towards the church. And on the way to that church, you can see the church at the very end of the street. The rabbi tells him, I just heard that the guy who sounds the bells just passed away. Mm-hmm. And they need a new person to replace him to sound the bells at the church. Yeah. So I think you could take the job. But Rabbi, Hazar Shalom, you want to take the job at the church and ring the bells for Goyim to come to the Knesset for the Mass? Right? So Rabbi says, this is exactly what you were doing when selling these books. You were ringing the bells for the Jews, to read this, to do the wrong things, to think the wrong things. How could you? Of course I had to burn this. But don't worry, that Hashem HaKadosh will provide for you too. There are many ways that HaKadosh Baruch Hu can provide for you. Not to Varim Asurim, Varim Psulim. Anyway, the idea is books are very dangerous, and we have to be careful what books enter our home. Newspapers today are full of junk, garbage, Lashon Hara, Ritzut. Be careful that the kids don't see it, and that we should not see it either. Anyway, so that's the idea of Shemen Zayit Zafir should be pure from any foreign influences. Also, there was the commentary also say that what is the idea of katit, that is being squeezed? The Jew, the more you squeeze it, the better he is. The better he becomes. Because we suffered, because we squeezed us, the beautiful ma'alot, the beautiful character came out of us as a result of all of the squeezing. So there's some benefit from that too. Okay, then the pasuk says that when you light the candles, it has to be la'alot ner tamid. La'alot ner tamid means that you light it, and Rashi says, what does it mean, la'alot? Madlik ad shetehe shahevet olam elea. You light it until it's already lighting by itself. It doesn't need your assist, burning by itself. What does that mean? So the Sfat Emet, that is, I think the Bracha explains that what this really is trying to tell us and teach us is that every Jew has an insort, has a spark in him. Sometimes that spark is dim. Right? Weak. Right. So all you need to do is weak. All you need to do is strengthen him, encourage him, and eventually you'll see he on his own, Bezat Hashem, will be able to garner the energy and the strength to be able to grow and to be what he was. Because everyone has a spark. That's the idea of Le'alot Netamid. You first try, you first do, you first help, and eventually it will go off on itself. And another way of looking at it is what the Zohar says, that whenever a Jew works or does a mitzvah, L'Shem Shamayim, for the sake of heaven, and he tries his best, Azu Osei Taruta Deletata. Zegorem Vitaruta Dele'ela. He's doing something which is considered an awakening down here. That awakening downstairs causes an awakening upstairs. That's what Hashem wants today, that the Jews should do today. They should awaken downstairs, so eventually, and very soon as Hashem, there will be an awakening upstairs to bring about the Geulah. We have to ask for the Geulah here. Then Hashem will say, okay, I'm ready. Just like it happened in Egypt, by Yitzhaku. Batal Shavatam El Hashem. Hashem listened to their cries. Once they cried, Hashem says, fine. Now you've done your part, your share, you made an effort. That's all I ask. Now I will do the rest. So that is the idea here, is also to make an effort. We always have to make an effort, never give up. Once we make an effort, and it's the Shem Shamayim, of course, for the sake of heaven, Hashem will make sure that it succeeds. Alright, one more point and we'll go to Parashat Tisa. Towards the end of Parashat Tetzave, there is a commandment to build a Mizbeach for the Ketoret. Mizbeach is called Mizbeach HaZahav. The altar made out of gold, which by the way was a miracle in itself, how the gold did not melt, even though it had gold. It had some ish. It was a miracle in itself. But you had a small mizbeach azahav that was inside. You had the mizbeach and achoshet, the mizbeach adama from earth. The Moshe Rabbeinu, it's really two. The original one was mizbeach and achoshet by Moshe Rabbeinu. It had copper around it.
When you say mizbeach, the shloka on top?
Yeah. That was Mizbeach Adama. It was hollow. It had earth inside. That was used outside. That was a big one. That was for the sacrifices. And you had the Mizbeach HaKetoret. What did you do on it? You had incense. The Ketoret was much smaller. It was inside. So just briefly, what is the purpose of the two Mizbeachot? So the commentators explain that the Mizbeach and the Hosh Mizbeach Adama, one outside for the sacrifices, was to atone for everything that we may have done with the body, with the physical body. Whereas the Mizbeach HaKetoret,
the Christians, they using the Ketoret also like we do.
No, it's not the same thing. The
Mizbeach,
Mizbeach,
they go like this.
yeah, it wasn't common, but
You know,
and a lot of things they try to copy from us. But
How it was stable, was not moving.
No, not at the time. Wherever they stayed, they stayed.
Yeah,
exactly. But you were able to carry it later, wherever you went to do.
Yeah, but not like
the Zahav you could carry. Yeah. Now, this Ketoret, this Mizbeach HaKetoret, and we spoke a little bit about the Ketoret, I think, last week. It was a very, very special thing. It has its own segulot of what it did. The Tumah Ketoret. This Mizbeach HaKetoret, the commentators explain, was for the Neshama. Just like the Guf needs a kapara, so does the Neshama need a kapara. And that is why there is incense. Why is there incense? Because of the same reason we have Besamim and Motzei Shabbat. If you were to forget to make Havdalah, you missed that Havdalah, and you make it on Sunday instead of Motzei Shabbat, you don't do Besamim, you don't do Meorei Ha'esh, you only do Yain, only on wine. Because Besamim can only be Motzei Shabbat, because Motzei Shabbat are Neshama Yetera, the additional Neshama benefits from the smell. The Guf is not benefiting from odors, from smells. The Neshama direct, this is the only benefit, one of the only benefits that the Neshama benefits from, the Samim, smell. That particular sense, the Neshama benefits. The body doesn't feel anything. When you smell something good, that benefit, that enjoyment that you derive from the Samim, it's only the Neshama.
Yeah, because
so that's the idea of Ketoret, which is a form of the Samim, or of incense, on the Mizbeach HaZahav, Mizbeach HaKetoret, for purposes of kapara to the Neshama. Yeah, that's something else. That's in the head. Yeah. Anyway, the two need a kapara, the Guf, and the Neshama. That's the idea of having the two Mizbachot. Okay, Parashat Tisa. We have Machzit shekel in the very beginning. Why half? And why money? Why not count the heads? So we have two questions. So why not count the heads? Why use money to count people? By the way, that's the right way to do it, so there shouldn't be magfa, you don't count Jews. Unless you say pasuk Oshia Tamecha Uberes Nachalatecha, there should be no ain hara on a particular number. Why do we use money? Because money is a way of showing that this man has value. Every Jew has value. So each one gave money, each one had value. That's number one. Why a half a shekel then? So there are a lot of explanations, but I'll just tell you one now. A half a shekel meaning that each Jew cannot accomplish everything that he would ordinarily want to do on his own. A Jew by himself is half. He needs the minyan. He needs to interact. He needs to live in a community. I myself would love to live next to Yosemite Park. Oh, it's beautiful, it's quiet, but there's no mikveh, there's no minyan, right? Yeah. A Jew is limited to where he could live. He needs all these services. He needs to give tzedakah. He needs people. A Jew needs a tzipur, needs a minyan. So mahzit shekel to remind the Jew you can't function by yourself. You need a second Jew with you. Mashal ema davar domeh, like two people who were wandering the forest, and the guy, one of them was lost, and he was overjoyed to find another person. That person was also lost. They couldn't, each one did not know how to get out of the forest. So the guy says, you know what? I don't know the way out, but I can help you by telling which ways not to go that I've already gone through. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And the other one too will share his information. Two heads are better than one. And together they have better chance to find those. Yeah. I just heard the story that in the Twin Towers, the Hatzalah, the group of Hatzalah that went into the Twin Towers to help.
Hatzalah is the ambulance.
Yeah, the Jewish ambulance. They had a system of that if the two were in a situation where something may collapse, they were in danger, they would handcuff each other. So they should be together. So if one guy loses hope and he's afraid, the other person should encourage him. And one of them happened to be close to an FBI agent, this guy. And they put it on each other. The whole building collapsed on them. But Baruch Hashem, because of the beams, they didn't fall directly on them. And the Jew, meanwhile, started praying. The guy asked him, what are you doing? He says, I'm praying. So he says, you know what, you pray and I'll dig. And he was a very, very muscular, very, very strong FBI agent. And somehow they were able to come out. But they were together. So the two together were able to accomplish something that perhaps one on his own would not have been able to do. That is the idea of mahzit. For yourself, you're not as powerful, you're not as capable as when you're the two. Another reason why a tzibur minyan is important, mashal ema davar domeh, to a king who invited his various constituents, his various communities and cities to come see him, to visit him. And they all brought gifts. One city brought gifts every hour. In other words, 1 hour, one gift arrived, the next hour another gift arrived, the third hour another gift arrived. They scattered the gifts. They didn't all come together at the same time, the representatives. And the king took a look at each gift and he said, this one is cheap. He bought it at the 99 cent store probably. Right? This one doesn't look right. This one, should have been nicer. He had time to analyze every gift, and therefore he criticized many of the gifts. The second city did something different. All the members came at the same time. They brought all their gifts at the same time. So the king was so overwhelmed with all the gifts, he didn't start taking apart each one. When a person prays by himself, Hashem has the time to analyze his prayer. I don't like it. He's mumbling. He's running through it quickly. He doesn't know what he's saying. He doesn't mean it. He's not sincere. Hashem takes it apart. But when people come and pray all together in the minyan, Hashem says, oh wow, everybody's praying together. All these gifts at one time, Hashem doesn't. He accepts it. Hashem accepts it. Doesn't take it apart. The power of a tzibur is tremendous. And I just was told that the Rav Rashi in Eretz Yisrael has asked that the whole world, the Jewish world, fast. I think this coming Wednesday, Erev Rosh Chodesh Nisan. I have to check through it. If it only applies to Eretz Yisrael, it applies all over. But anyway, it's a tremendous koach. If all of us were to do the same thing, whoever cannot fast should give tzedakah because of the situation. A tzibur has a tremendous koach, and we shouldn't underestimate it. We should use it for the right thing. That is idea, again, another explanation of why mahzit shekel and not a full shekel, to remind us that by ourselves we cannot accomplish everything. Another idea in Parashat Tisa is the kiyor nechoshet. The Kohanim are being told to wash their hands and their feet. Otherwise, halila, if they go in, they're not clean. V'lo yamutu. What does it mean just because they didn't wash their hands? What is it trying to tell the Kohanim? Dir balak, be careful, wash yourself, be clean when you enter this place. So this is what I said earlier, that this has a little bit to do with the morah, the fear, the reverence, the kavod that Hashem wants the Kohanim to have when they enter this place. This is not your garage. This is not your home. This is the Beit HaMikdash, the Beit Hashem. You have to be clean. You have to be dressed up. You can't be drunk, right? There's a lot of mitzvot for the Kohanim to be careful. They shouldn't lose the kavod for the place. A lot of people, after a while, they feel home. They feel at home at their job. You know, they do whatever they want. They take off their shoes. You know, they sleep. This Chaz v'shalom, for this to happen in the Beit HaMikdash, they would not be. They would fall asleep. They would be. They would get in a makah. Right?
They were going barefoot.
They would go barefoot. Why? So they shouldn't fall asleep. It was cold. It was marble.
That's why they wash.
Right? And they know for other reasons, for cleanliness. Right? So the idea of the many mitzvot that apply to Kohanim, the Beit HaMikdash, is to instill in them the kavod at all times, for them to have the proper kavanah of what they're doing. They shouldn't be masiyah dat. Right? In the middle of a job, I gotta go make a phone call now. Right? Imagine the person is in the Amidah. Shmona Esrei, same idea. Shmona Esrei.
The phone rings.
Not even his phone. Somebody else calls him. You're not allowed to stop. That's terrible zilzul. You're talking to the king right now. You're talking to the king now.
Don't move your feet from the ground.
Right? That is the point of washing. The washing is important for the Kohanim, the cleanliness, the kavod that they have for the place. That it shouldn't be something light for them. This requires preparation. This requires cleanliness. Okay, Shabbat is another idea expressed in Parashat Tisa. What's the idea of Shabbat? So we say Shabbat is an ot. It's not an ordinary mitzvah. It's not just a simple, reasonable mitzvah. It's not a chok, a decree. It's called an ot. An ot it's like a sign between me and you. What are we celebrating? What are we commemorating? What are we saying testimony? Ki Hashem bara et ha'olam b'shisha yamim v'yanach b'yom hashvi'i, that He rested on the seventh day. It's a tremendous sign. This is our ring, in a sense, that we're married to Hashem, Shabbat. Therefore, whoever does not keep Shabbat, Chalila, is considered like he's mechalel kol Torah kula. Mashal emad avad b'mei, Chafetz Chaim says, what is this like? It's comparable to an individual who had a hardware store. That's, for example, a hardware store. And somebody came by the hardware store and he tries to open the door and he sees the door is locked. What does he think? He looks and he sees the tools, he sees the merchandise, he sees the signs. I guess the guy's on vacation, the guy's maybe away. He'll come back in a couple of days. That's what you think when the door is locked. Mm-hmm. What if you come back a week later and you see not only is the door locked, the merchandise is gone and the sign is off. No more, it doesn't say any more hardware store. He moved, he's gone, he went out of business. Says the Chafetz Chaim, when a Jew, for some reason, does not keep kosher, stop putting on tefillin, forgets his tzitzit at home, does not eat kosher at home or outside, things like that, certain mitzvot that he's lax, it could happen that the door is locked. Does that mean he's not Jewish? No. It just means that he's missing something, and eventually he'll open up again, he'll do teshuvah, he'll fix it. Right now, the door is locked in one particular area, he's lax, he's not strong. He's still Jewish. What happens if the Jew stops observing Shabbat? That he has taken off the sign, I'm not Jewish anymore. I'm out of business. Completely out of business. Ki ot hi b'ni u'v'nechem. The Shabbat is a sign. The Jews have given their lives for Shabbat, because that is more important than anything else. I mean, everything is important. But that in itself has a tremendous clock. And the rabbis tell us that a Jew who keeps Shabbat, the Shabbat is so powerful that it can bring him back to do Teshuvah. And that is why for Balei Teshuvah, I encourage them. And that's too difficult for them. I tell them put on tefillin every day. But if they ask on their own, they're willing to do one thing first, keep Shabbat. Because the clock of the Shabbat will bring him to keep the rest of the Torah.
That's the most important.
And especially if they already have families, and they sit at the table, and they sing Smirot, and it says Kiddush, it's the most beautiful experience. So Shabbat has a tremendous koach. It has the kedusha of bringing back somebody. And therefore, if a Jew keeps the Shabbat, even if Chalila he was mechalel everything else, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wahelo. In other words, he doesn't touch it. Why? Because Hashem knows that the Shabbat eventually will bring it back. That's how powerful the Shabbat is. All right, Chet HaEgel is in Parashat Tisa too. Very briefly, even though this deserves to be spoken about by itself, the whole idea of what happened that the Am Yisrael succumbed and committed a grave sin with the golden calf. And you may have seen many explanations for it, but I'm going to make it simple, even though it's not simple. First of all, who's to blame? What does Hashem tell Moshe? Who sinned? Ha'am, your nation.
Your nation.
Who's your nation? Moshe's nation. Moshe has his own nation? Yeah.
The one he could.
The one he took out of Egypt, the Erev Rav. Certainly not one of these guys. They're not for real. They're fakers. They want to convert now because they see the Jews are leaving Egypt. They want to jump on the bandwagon. The Erev Rav causes trouble throughout the 40 years in the desert, and up until now, they're reincarnated souls. And Shamash Mulgalot, the Yehudim, they are the Jew haters. They were the kapos in Germany that turned over other Jews. You gave them a kilo of sugar, you gave them a little bit of cacao, or a little bit of butter, they were willing to slander a Jew. There were some individuals who were exceptional, who actually helped Jews, but the majority of them were bad. A Jew who was lax by Shanut, Rahmanut, Gimlut, Chasadim, the three main characters that define a Jew, kindness, bashfulness, and compassion. If he's missing any one of them in its entirety, you can suspect that he has Erev Rav blood in his veins. So they were the troublemakers. According to one midrash, they were the Mechashvim of Egypt, the Khartoumim. Yeah. According to one, many of them were from the magicians. They saw it's by Elohim. Okay, now I'm going to join the Jews. I'm going to convert, but they were not sincere, or at least they still had the bunch of nonsense in their head. Yeah, still the same, of course. So anyway, so what's going on? And as a result of their actions, they caused many Jews, real Jews, to fall in this trap too. Because all you need is one rotten apple. One rotten apple spoils the rest. Yeah, that's what happens. Now, what were they doing? They couldn't wait. What did they want with a golden calf? Obviously, there was magic involved. That's why it worked, and that's why it moved. But why did they look for this? What's the problem? If they weren't happy, they saw the miracles. They needed an Egel Zahav. But that is the problem with every Avodah Zarah. How did Avodah Zarah form to begin with? In the very beginning, everybody was aware, to some extent, that God created the world. Right? It was more obvious. So how did Avodah Zarah begin? Many idols? Hindus have millions of idols. Yeah. Idol for this, idol for that. All the kochot in the ulam is a god. Yeah. How did this all begin? It all began because of astrology. That is what the rabbis were very, very careful to stay distant. In other words, they knew that astrology is a force to reckon with, but it could be dangerous too, because it led to Avodah Zarah. The Goyim at one time said, you know what, we have to give kavod to the servants of Hashem. They are His servants, and it's true. All the malachim are servants, and they all have tafkidim. Ki malachav esh lohet. Right? Even the firestorms, even the winds, the tornadoes, they're all different types of malachim. Right? So we have to give kavod to these kohot of Hashem. At the end, what happened? They gave only kavod to the mashartim, and they forgot about the master himself. So then, that's all that remained. Okay? And that's what was happening here too. These ideas that the Erev Rav had in their mind, they were extending to the Egel. In other words, we want a koach to be represented in the physical being. We have Moshe Rabbeinu, he's no longer here. It does not mean that they denied God's existence. They just saw it a few days ago. They saw the man every day. They did not deny God's existence, but they wanted a koach, a physical koach, to lead their way. Something that they can talk to. Something that they can relate to. A leadership that they can speak to. In other words, that they can see. And that is a problem, a general problem with individuals who want proof. If I don't see God, I won't believe in it. Right? You see electricity works, you see the electricity, but you see it works, right? You just stick something in, the socket didn't work. Do you see it? No. How do you know it exists, electricity? Because you see it works. Same thing. A Jew must remember that there's certain things you can't see, but it's obvious. There's so many things that are obvious that make the existence of Hashem a fact. So we don't need anything physical to lead the way. Baruch Hashem, we had Nevi'im, right, at one time. But today we don't have anything. What are we going to do? We're going to say, Chas v'shalom, nothing exists? No. We know that He exists. We have enough proof already. The Erev Rav, with its own philosophies and its own ideas, originally they worshipped Avodah Zarah, right? They believed in the kohot, that the various things in the Teva in nature have. In some ways they felt that they were extensions of God. That is what they were. That's all they wanted really to do, is to have a koach, Eloki, is something down here, physical, the physical world, that they could worship. And of course that is a sur. That was one of the Sefer Divrot. You cannot make any, or give any kavod to any other koach, because nothing is independent of Hashem. If there's a koach out there, it's all from Hashem, but it's not something independent. And that has the danger of leading a Jew away totally from Hashem. If you believe there's another koach, eventually you forget about that koach. Everything that exists in this world, even though it's nature, it's called Teva, it's nevertheless part of Hashem. Who made the Teva? Hashem. So in order not to think about them as individual kochot, we say it's all Hashem. Even the Teva is Hashem.
Why Hagen, not the lamb, not something? Why did you?
It had to do with Mazalot too. It had to do with the Egypt, yeah.
Because I think the Egyptians used to have the Hagen to part of.
Yeah. So anyway, so these were not sincere people. That is another point. When you have certain converts who are not sincere, they just convert because they want to marry a Jew or a Jewess. You have to be careful with them because eventually they stray and they can mislead other Jews too. And that's what the rabbis say. Gerim are not good for the Jewish people for a variety of reasons, but that's one because they don't keep the mitzvot properly. I mean, unless it's true ger tzedek. So they obviously were not sincere completely, and that is the first opportunity they had. They fell, they complained, they misled others, unfortunately. And that causes big trouble. All right, Hashem speaks about the stubbornness of the Jewish people. I mentioned a little bit on Shabbat. The reason Hashem emphasizes the stubbornness much more than the sin itself is because people can commit a sin. They can do teshuvah. That can happen. We're frail. We're human beings. We make mistakes. But stubbornness is a problem because if one is stubborn, he won't admit his mistakes. He won't want to correct it. He won't do teshuvah. To admit is the first step for teshuvah. I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I was wrong. That is the most difficult for a Jew to say. And therefore, Hashem says, they're going to be stubborn. They're going to have a hard time doing teshuvah in the future. What are we going to do about that? So Hashem is emphasizing and reminding us. If it's written in Torah, it's to remind us we've got to deal with this problem. We should not be stubborn, even though stubbornness has been a benefit to the Jewish people too. As a result of the stubbornness, they were able to resist the many persecutions and not convert, not to Christianity, not to Islam. Some people, unfortunately did not make it. But Am Yisrael was able to hold strong to their values and their traditions because of the stubbornness. But generally speaking, stubbornness is not good. It's not good for a couple at home. If the two are stubborn, or if one is stubborn, but especially the two, because the house will break apart just for stubbornness. Just because of the stubbornness, each one wants his own way. Yeah. So Hashem is pointing this out to Moshe Rabbeinu. They need to work on this. They need to be careful with this much more than anything else. Because eventually when I send them prophets and I rebuke them, I want them to listen. And if they're going to be some, they're not going to listen. That is a problem. That is something that they need to deal with. All right. Another point in Parashat Tisa is the prohibition of making a covenant with the inhabitants of the land. Al tichrot brit. ואין תכרות ברית עם יושבי הארץ וזנו אחרי אלוהיהם זבחו אלוהיהם וקרא לך וחתם וזבחו ולקחתם מבנותיו לבניך וזנו בנותיו אחרי אלוהיהם ויזנו בניך אחרי אלוהיהם. Don't make a covenant with inhabitants of the land. So long as they're idol worshippers, don't even allow them to live there. Why? Because if you make a covenant, if you live in peace with them, if you allow them to remain there, eventually your kids will stray. Your kids will marry their daughters. Your daughters will marry their boys. Eventually your children will be of the avodah zarah. They will worship idols. Right? And what will that cause? That will cause that you will be vomited from the land. You will be expelled. Islam does not tolerate avodah zarah. But there's more to that. Later on the Torah emphasizes it again in a different way. The problem with making a covenant with an enemy of the land is that they will give you trouble. That is exactly what we're having today. Don't keep them there for your own good. You cannot get along. It's going to be a problem. Right? It doesn't mean you can't have any non-Jews in Eretz Yisrael. If a non-Jew accepts the Sheva Mitzvot B'nai Noach, the 7 Noachite laws, and accepts subjugation under Jewish law and government, and he realizes that he doesn't have the same rights to vote and so forth, fine, he can stay. That, yeah. But many of them would not accept that, or would feel threatened, or would feel that you robbed them from their land, or they would feel that you robbed them from their land, and they will always remind you that they will always go after you. So who needs these problems? So the Torah is already advising us beforehand: no covenant with the people, with the nation's land. You can't coexist with them. And of course, the people do not learn from their mistakes. History repeats itself, and it's still a problem today. Yeah.
You say one part of the Torah, there be thorns on you, like thorns on you somewhere.
Yeah. Sure.
In one of the parashiyot.
Yeah.
Thorns against you.
Exactly. Anyway, so we have problems with the Yoshev Haaretz, with inhabitants of the land. Not only will they complain about the land we rob, but there's always a problem of us assimilating to their ways, especially during the majority.
מה עם כל ה-800,000 יהודים שעזבו את ארצות ערב ועזבו שם את כל מה שהיה להם?
כן, זה כבר
אף אחד לא מזכיר את זה.
זה משהו אחר. כן, אנחנו מדברים עכשיו על ארץ ישראל, the בוללות, the assimilation, and there have been Jews that have married Arabs. mostly girls, not boys.
Yeah.
Right? But it's a problem, and the Torah is telling us that to be aware of this. This is something that will happen if you don't remove them from the land. All right, the last point, Parashat Tisa, is a very, very powerful point, difficult point. Moshe asks, "At any night kevodecha, Hashem, show me your honor." Another place it says, "Odi any night derachecha, show me or explain to me your ways." And the two ideas are similar. The commentators explain that Moshe wants to understand how HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world. Be'ezeh midah, with which attribute. In other words, explain to me how you manage, how you do things. Why is there tzaddik gerala and rasha v'tov lo? Why are there sometimes righteous people who are struggling and wicked people who are prospering? The famous difficult questions. So Moshe wanted to understand a little bit. Hashem, share with me. Yeah, but he at least asked. Why not? Ask. You can ask. And especially if he's going to get an answer. He may get an answer. So he says, Hashem, please tell me. Share with me how you run this world. And of course Hashem says, I can't possibly explain everything to you. A mortal being cannot understand everything. And the way he explained to him is as follows. The Chafetz Chaim says, Mashal Amad Davar Domeh, you had a guest in town. He was never in this community. He was never in Torah Or. Comes to Torah Or on Shabbat, and he sees Isaac Clement giving out aliyot. And he doesn't understand, why does he get an aliyah, and why did Levi get that one, and why did Shlishi get that one at that corner, and this got maftir, and this one got this aliyah? What's going on over here? What about me? I don't understand why you took one from that corner of the room and that one. What's going on? He went over to the Gabai. Why are you doing things like this randomly? Without a cheshbon? How do you explain it? He says, sir, you're a visitor, right? There's a system here. If you'd been living with us for the year, you would have understood a little bit better what we're doing here. In one Shabbat, how do you expect to understand the cheshbonot? It says the Chafetz Chaim. The same thing with this world. We come here, we were around for 70 years, and we expect to understand what Hashem is doing. And that's what Hashem told the Yud. Where were you on day one when I created the world? We would have to be from the beginning till the end to be able to see everything, right? To be able to understand what Hashem is doing. It's like you coming at the end of a movie. What's going on? Why did he kill him? Well, you should have been here at the beginning. That was the bad guy that got killed. Understand? You should have been here at the beginning of the movie. If you're coming at the end, you don't understand. Baruch Hashem, we at least have the script. It's all written. So we have a better understanding of what's happening today in the world. But it doesn't mean we can still understand everything, all the details. There's a lot of depth to what's going on. Same thing Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu. You expect to understand everything. How long are you going to live? 120 years. That's not enough to understand everything that I'm doing. While you're a human being, while you're a mortal, your vision is very limited. Your understanding is very limited. We don't have the capability to understand everything. There was once a non-Jew, a prince, who asked the rabbi, show me where God is. I want to believe in him. You want to see where God is? Okay, fine, come. I'm going to show you. He takes him outside. It was a hot summer day. He tells him, he's up there. He raised his head and he couldn't look because the sun was very bright. He said, I can't look. He said, you can't look? How do you expect to see God if you can't even look at one of his small servants called the sun? It's only a small servant, right? You can't see him. You can't see that servant. How do you expect to see God? Right? The human mind is limited in the same way a cat, no matter how hard you try, it will never be a mechanic. It will know how to fix your car, right? Because a cat's mind is limited. A human being has to remember that he is also limited. He's more knowledgeable, more capable than a cat. But he also has his limitations, and it's not possible for us to understand everything. Hashem therefore tells Moshe Rabbeinu, don't take care, take it easy. Right? You don't have to understand everything. We drive cars. Do we understand everything that's going in the car? Everything, how it functions, how it works? No, we still drive the car. You can still live a life even if you don't understand everything. There's no mitzvah in the Torah to understand everything. What appears to us, however, to be a lack of justice is definitely not right. Because Hashem is justice. Right? En avel, tzaddik v'yasharhu. That is another pasuk that Hashem, the Torah later reveals to us. So we should have no mistake that you might think, nevertheless, even though you don't understand, you may come to that conclusion. Where is God? How could he allow so many people to die in the Holocaust? How could he allow so many piguim, so many terrorists? Well,
take a look at it another way. What about all the miracles? You know how many miracles were today in Israel? Miracles. A terrorist went into a restaurant in Yerushalayim, and one of the waiters went over to him and said, "What do you want?" He says, "I want a glass of water." And he saw he was sweating. He says, "Show me your identity, your card, your Teudat Zehut." He takes out his card. In the meantime, the waiter takes a look at him and he sees wires protruding from his backpack, and he pushed him outside and took the wire out of his hand and called the police. He had a tremendous big bomb, that terrorist. Many miracles. So even though on the one hand we see unfortunately terrible things happening, on the other hand we see miracles. What is this all? So even though we don't understand Hashem's ways, a little bit we do know that Hashem on the one hand is Rahum Rahanun. He's compassionate. He shows his Rachamim to the Jewish people, and he will show us and continue to show us miracles. On the other hand, he has to awaken those who are asleep. Unfortunately, there are still many people who are asleep, and there is a heshbon, of course, on why certain people have to be killed. In the end, we who believe in Hasharat al-Neshama, who believe in that the soul continues to survive after departing from this world, when a person is dead, of course, it's not the end of him. He has a Chelek L'Olam Haba. He died, he was killed because he was Jewish, so he has a tremendous zechut. So in the end, we will understand when Mashiach comes. When Mashiach comes and we understand what has happened, our mouth, B'ezrat Hashem, will be filled with joy and happiness when we realize that everything was done for the good.